As a teenager, I was regularly told that I was incapable of real human connection. Friends and adult mentors would say things like, "Some people are just happy being alone forever," as if the most that I could aspire to in life was to become one of those people. I suspected then, and know now, that such people do not, in fact, exist. While some of us thrive mainly through connection with the more than human world of nature and ideas, relationship and human thriving are irrevocably linked. Like all of us, I needed relationship to survive, and at the time I had no idea how to go about finding it. In 1998, I was a tall and gangly 16-year-old with a mop of wiry brown hair and a habit of rollerblading around my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. Though only a sophomore, I was on the path to becoming valedictorian. I played on the soccer team and speed skated, ran the tech crew for my high school's theater, and was becoming close with the clique of girls that had dominated my grade socially, all of whom had recently shaved their heads and come out as queer. Quietly and with a hint of desperation, I shared with them a secret that my middle school and high school self had been holding with trepidation. I was not experiencing sexuality like those around me. Since elementary school, I had been told that I would begin to develop special feelings for those around me, and that those feelings would be simultaneously confusing and the gateway to the most important relationships in my life. I had invented, more or less out of thin air, the word asexual to describe my condition, which I was fairly certain was a problem. In the movies I watched, the songs I listened to, and the books I read, people's lives were constantly being transformed through meaningful romantic connection that was concentrated with a kiss. I could not say that I was in a relationship with someone without implying that that relationship was romantic and on some level sexual. All of this meant that when I tried to envision how my very present need for human connection might be fulfilled, I was left without words to use or stories to draw on. It was one thing to fear, as almost all people fear, that I would be alone forever. It was another to live in a world that treated this loneliness as a foregone conclusion. If a core trauma has shaped my life, it is the memory of being unable to imagine a life in which I am loved. Psychologist Claire Gardner makes an important distinction between social isolation, the state of not having relationships, and the sensation of loneliness. Loneliness is about lacking the agency to form the relationships that we want. If we move to a new city where we don't know anyone but are confident that we'll quickly make friends, we experience very little loneliness. But if we have no idea how to make friends or why anyone would want to be our friend, then our loneliness can be both overwhelming and self-fulfilling. This is why loneliness also impacts people with busy social lives. If we are surrounded by relationships, but those relationships obligate us to spend time in ways that we don't want to, and there's nothing we can do about it, then we feel just as lonely as someone isolated in their home. Throughout this book, I will refer to a loneliness crisis rather than a social isolation crisis to emphasize this lack of agency. The path out of loneliness can look like making friends, but can also look like having time to connect with ourselves or with the more than human world. For this reason, the opposite of loneliness is not connection, because sometimes more connections can make loneliness worse. We avoid loneliness by continually evolving, changing, and pruning a tapestry of relationship that fits our changing lives. I'll use the term relational agency to refer to this capacity to grow and change the relationship around us to meet our needs. To my 16-year-old self, it was a lack